Okay, so the trailer for the live-action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender dropped a couple of days ago, and yeah, I know, I'm running a little bit behind schedule, but that's okay. We're catching up now. And yeah, this trailer, it's a doozy. An absolute doozy. Now, when this project was first announced, I was very, very wary. The original live-action adaptation, the film version, has got to be among perhaps the worst live-action remakes of all time. Bad casting, bad scripting, so many cuts, lacking humor, whitewashing, a whole bunch of cringe moments. It was just terrible in every single way. Like, come on. How do you possibly make something this bad without doing it on purpose? Mediocre, I could understand, but just actively terrible in every single way? Making the worst possible decision at every single stage of pre-production, production, and post-production? Just yikes. And yeah, just killed off a budding live-action franchise right from the get-go and made everybody just want to forget about it forever. And so, when it was announced that Netflix was going to try their hand at their own live-action adaptation, I honestly expected more of the same. Maybe not quite as terrible as the OG, but I wasn't hopeful. And then this trailer came out, and my god, it actually looks good. Like, there are still some questions and problems I have here and there, and I'm not fully sold, but I'm far more optimistic than I was previously. And so, yeah, let's work our way through the trailer and see what we've got. Okay, so we start off with what I'm guessing is the attack on the air temples by the Fire Nation at the onset of the 100 Years' War just after Aang's ran away and has been caught in the storm, and thus frozen. And yeah, already, the bending here, it's looking far better than the film. Remember when the Earthbenders had to do a full-on dance routine just to team up to move one rock? Yeah, doesn't look like we're going to be seeing that here. And thank God for that. Although I am shocked that they're showing this, like actually showing the genocide scenes. I wonder if maybe they're just going to show the intro to it and then cut away? Because in actuality, this is probably one of the most vicious and brutal moments in the entire saga. It's the death of a culture, the slaughter of children, it's just genocide. That's what we're looking at here. You're really going to show that? And yeah, the more I think about it, the more I feel like they're going to show a couple of fighting scenes, no one dying, just getting smacked away by fire or air. Then cut to Monk Yatso smacking around some soldiers, and then he'll get blasted and it'll cut away instantly. And yeah, I think that's the way to do it. And that does sound pretty exciting, at least to me. But moving on, we then see our Water Tribe siblings standing in front of Aang's ice prison. And I gotta say, their costumes and stuff, looking good, looking cool. This scene in particular is deeply iconic, so hopefully they manage to pull it off. It's such an important little sequence that establishes the personalities of the big three heroes. So yeah, hopefully it's good. I am a little nervous that they've never actually had any of our lead actors speak in the trailer though, so it's impossible to tell whether they're actually decent actors or not, and I guess time will tell there. At any rate, the standard of child acting does seem to have improved in recent years, so I am hopeful. And it was at this point in the trailer that it became clear that it was a "this isn't the movie, don't worry" type of trailer, where they're simply there to show off the cool visuals and the cool locations and show us that major stuff hasn't been cut out. And we start with Omashu, which is another really important location for the story, and it looks awesome. Like, what's the budget for this show? I'm really blown away with the quality of the visuals and the CGI. I really did think they'd have to go the cheapo route and have low tier effects to keep costs in check, but this is very nice to see. Then Zuko's up next, and whilst I do like his design, and I like the fact that they kept the bald-headed ponytail look, I do think the scar, it kind of just looks like face paint to me. I think getting blasted in the face by one of the world's most powerful and vicious firebenders at point-blank range to specifically create a lasting and permanent punishment is going to leave more of a disfiguring scar. I mean, even in the cartoon version, you can see it's meant to be disfiguring. It's like his eye is kind of melty. The burn's lumpy, has different colors in it, which I think is meant to show depth. And the actual eye is more shut than the other. And I mean, I get it. It's probably easier to not have to slap prosthetics onto the dude every single time. But still, it looks a tiny bit hokey. We then get a look at the Fire Lord and the Royal Palace and the throne room, and yeah, it's looking epic. The big fire wall lifted straight from the OG show, you love to see it. And the Fire Lord, that dude is oozing menace and evil, giving off those abusive dad vibes, you love to see it. And he's even managing to pull off that truly horrendous facial hair. In my eyes, that is a very bold look in this day and age, but I like it. And I also gotta say, it looks like we're getting to see more than what was shown in book 1 of the original series. We're seeing more of the Fire Lord, more of what's going on in the Fire Nation. And I think it does make sense to introduce some of these characters early on, just to add something a little bit fresh and not be a one-to-one remake of the cartoon. It helps you add a little bit of depth, I think. We then get a look at the Kyoshi warriors, whose designs look, well, they look awesome. The face paint, damn, the face paint, the armor. Feels like they've really gone all out to make it feel true to the original world of the story, and not whatever it was the creative team decided to do for the movie. And also, I can already feel the shippers tingling from here at the Suki and Sokka moments in the trailer. One of the best OG ships, if we're being honest. That was my childhood. Step aside, Moon Spirit. No one wants you. Although I gotta say, I am curious as to how they're gonna be fighting with the fans and how that will look. I mean, it looked cool in the cartoon, but live action? Guess we'll have to wait and see. We then move on to, I suppose this is Crescent Island, where the fire temple's located. God damn, that's making me hyped for the Roku scene where he returns to Helbang and lays waste to the traitorous monks. Oh, that is going to be mega hype. So satisfying. Although something about the shot of Aang gliding in just there kind of felt off to me. I can't really explain why, but it just didn't look right. And then we get our first proper look at Aang, and his theme kicks in. Holy shit, yes! My nostalgia just went through the roof here. We see Aang in the burnt forest. We see what I suspect is the fateful father-son Agni Kai, where Zuko gets burnt by his dad. Or either that or him versus Zhao. But I suspect it's the former. And I gotta say, that scene is going to be so dark. It's crazy how much brutal stuff they've managed to squeeze into that show. But since it was such a happy-go-lucky cartoon most of the time, it never really felt overly sad or bleak. God, the writing was good. And I do hope they manage to keep that vibe of cheerful humour with an undercurrent of darkness. If they go too heavy on the maturity, I think it sucks a lot of the heart out of the story and makes things way too bleak. You gotta leave that for the very end when it's apocalypse time. They really do have to strike that perfect balance. Because that means when it does get serious, it becomes way more important. And I think that's especially with characters like Sokka and Aang. They were way too serious in the movie version. You gotta keep it somewhat light, somewhat happy, and then when they get fired up, it's way more epic, way more exciting. Otherwise, it's not going to feel the same, and the characters just won't be as lovable to me. Obviously, some of the humor is going to have to change, as animated characters can pull off crazier expressions and do wackier shit and it still makes sense. But here, there is still room for comedy. It's been devoid of that in the trailer, let's be real. So we'll have to wait and see. We then see some cool fire bending, a girl who I presume is Azula, and then we see Aang power up into the Avatar state. The glowing arrow for me is something that looks much better as a cartoon. It's not the end of the world or anything like that, but I do think it looks a bit hokey. Then the theme drops again. Whew! God damn, yes! And they're flying on Appa. Momo's there. They're smiling. They're happy. You love to see it. Although I gotta say, seeing Aang and Katara sitting next to each other, it's making me side-eye the romance hard. You gotta work that one out, Netflix. I mean, maybe they'll just hone in on Sokka's romance stuff and include more Zuko and Mai. Because let's be real, in the cartoon, Aang and Katara, it's good, it's fine. But this one, where you actually see them and the age difference, it's given me ick. We know what happens in the timeline, just don't show me in the show itself, please. This kid's just so young. And then we get the date of February the 22nd for the release. Hype. Hype, hype, hype. Just pure hype, that's all I have to say. Can't wait for this show. I feel like we're really eating well in 2024. It's going to be a big year. And so, with all that being said, not much else to say other than these have been my opinions, and I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the trailer? You like it? You hate it? Are you hyped for the show? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.